Hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about something that might be very anxiety producing or stressful for you, and this is the topic of grammar. Take a deep breath, relax. Just keep watching this video. Um, I want to talk about how it's useful. A lot of people think it's a waste of time, that it's something that English teachers made up just so they can give you one more quiz on a Thursday afternoon. Um, I'll show you how it's something that we can use to talk about language. Of course, it's language talking about its own self, but how it can save us a lot of time, how we can use it to compare different things. And once we have these concepts in our head, our forward progress should be a lot faster. Let me show you, let me give you an example of something else that I think is similar. Look at these letters here: G, A, M, F, G, E, M, A, 7, F, G. There's letters in one number. Some of you already know what this is. Most of you, I think, already know what this is. Some of you can even hear this in your mind. Some of you might even be able to recognize what this is. But if you think about it, these are, of course, chords for music, but the letters are not really the point, are they? We don't use these letters when we're actually making the music. We only use these letters to practice, to learn, to break something down and talk about it. If we want to talk about why this song is beautiful, we could break it down and see, oh, I see now that this, this is the relative minor of this, and this A7 gives a sort of anticipatory quality to the music right there. We can see that it resolves, starts in G and ends in G. Things like this. We're talking using sort of false, constructed, non-natural terms to talk about the music itself. Nowhere in music naturally do you find these letters. They are constructs to help us talk about the music. Likewise, things like noun, verb, past participle, past progressive, all these terms are not in the language. They are sort of over the language to help us talk about it. Now, going back to this, I'll play this for you, and you'll see that it sounds much nicer when we hear the thing itself. So it's this: cry, baby, cry, make your mother sigh. She's old enough to know better, so cry, baby, cry. And that is Cry Baby Cry from the Beatles, off the White Album, which is my favorite album, and it should be your favorite album too. Going back to it again, this is not the point. We're only using this. I used this to learn the song. I could have also listened to the song repeatedly, but really the effect would have been the same. If I hear the song once and then see the chords, I can play that song. Let me give you another example. Do you recognize this? Okay, how about this? Watch this note here. So this is Beethoven's sonata, sonata number 14, known as Moonlight, the Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven. Also one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever written. But nobody would think that this is the point. Nobody would think that these horizontal lines and this S-shaped thing and the backwards C-shaped thing is the point of a music class. The point of your language class and the point of your English class are not to learn words like past participle or auxiliary. Those are merely words that we use to talk about something, to help us to address problems in the language, or to create sentences that are more difficult than the ones that we could produce before. Specifically in Spanish, where there's always been a problem between these words, para and para meaning for and para meaning to. You've probably heard a sentence like this: I read a book in English for improve my vocabulary. This is a very, very common mistake for Spanish speakers when they're learning English. You can probably figure out why. If I gave you many more examples, you could figure it out. But I'll just tell you right now, the problem is here. Para was mistranslated as for. Para, when it's followed by a verb, is actually to. Para is only for when it's followed by a noun. So you could say, para mi clase, right? That would be for my class. Whoopsie, class. You see? So when para is followed by a noun, it's translated as for. When para is followed by a verb, it is translated as to. The words verb and the word noun are not the point. We're using those words to help us talk about the language in a much more effective, much faster way. Likewise, when you're learning other languages and you hear that Japanese is a subject, object, verb language, and almost all, maybe all subject, object, verb languages have postpositions rather than prepositions. It's interesting to know. Well, that's not a great example, but so instead of saying for something, it would be something for. There's a different way to say that. But if I told you that French, Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish all create they have a past tense, the construction of which is analogous to the English present perfect, it would save you a lot of time from learning it, from just picking it up from multiple exposures over however much time in each of those languages. I can just tell you, the auxiliary is something like have, and then it uses the past participle, which is derived from the infinitive. If you learn those words, we can talk about it much more quickly. There's no need to give examples and examples. Learn those words, and you'll be able to work with the language a lot more quickly. Okay? So in sum, grammar should be seen as the musical notation of language, and not something that is completely separate. And I think it's no more extraneous, no more unnecessary than sheet music might be. Sheet music, you could say, is a waste of time if you can just play the song, but if you're trying to learn it, it saves a lot of time. Okay, thanks.